Good afternoon on what is a grey, overcast and chilly afternoon. It is Tuesday the 30th of November. I am back in the Read Nook with a nice hot cup of tea, which I do need, and another couple of interesting items to unbox. The first of which is interesting because it's the very first role-playing game based upon a Disney property. Now you might argue that perhaps the Alien role-playing game is, because obviously that's now owned by Disney, but no, this is based upon an actual Disney property, in particular a Disney Pixar property. It is the film Onward, and the product is this, which is Onward, a role-playing adventure game, and it's the Barley's edition. And let's see what you get on the back. There's lots of things in there, which hopefully you can see. We've got a lot of reflection there. So let's have a look what it says on the back. Gather your fellowship and embark on an epic quest filled with adventures that will take you across the fractured realms. The journey begins as players rush to aid the cities of Clovendale and uncover a mystery that will test the might and cunning nature of the great adventurers. Take the role of the questmaster leading the fellowship. The player is one of the team members advancing through the dangerous adventures that await. The tale you will tell will feature the folk and lore of the Onward movie, including elves, cyclops, goblins, dragons, the powerful Manticore, and much more. This adventure kit includes everything you need to start playing right away, whether you're an experienced role-playing or brand new to this style of game. Lead your group to victory through Barley's very own copy of Quests of Yore. So, what you get in there is Advanced Player's Guide, Tome of Quests, Questmaster's Shield, 6 miniatures, 3 polyhedral dice sets, a runic wheel, 4 pre-generated roll sheets, 5 blank roll sheets, 4 lion's wheel, 3 basically lots of counters, grit, etc, etc. Let me see, a couple of things. So Onward came out, I think it was a couple of years ago, and it's a Disney Pixar film in which what if you had sort of like in the medieval times, etc., you had like a fantasy world like you've got in Dungeons and Dragons, so you've got the dragons and the cyclops and the goblins, and they're all there, okay, and then it advances sort of like into the modern world, so the goblins and the manticores and dragon and cyclops and so on all have to find their own basically role in the world. And it's a perfectly ordinary world, and essentially the main characters essentially have basically been grew up with that father and have to go quest to go and find him, which means essentially because ultimately their attempt to summon him failed and only brought back half of him, the lower half, so they literally have to sort of like walk around the film sort of like pulling this pair of legs on, around, who's got no top. And it's all very sort of like role-playing sort of friendly, but because you're sort of going, okay, is this a role-playing game or isn't it? It kind of is when you're watching the film. And so this came out from USAopoly and Disney, and I've been waiting to get my hands on this for quite some time to see what it's like, because I'm always interested sort of like on interesting role-playing games that are a bit different. And this comes out in a year where there are 2 big contenders for the role-playing board game. Well, obviously you've got Fantasy Flight Games 3rd edition of Descent, which is the big monster, and it really is big because it's a foot square. It's packed with miniatures. And consequently, basically it's fairly expensive. And then in between that, you have the redone version of Hero Quest from Wizards of the Coast, which revives the role-playing adventure board game from sort of like the late 80s, early 90s, and everyone is raving about that coming back. And I would love to get a hold of a copy of that. And then there's this. So it's sort of in between. Or sort of like, So let's have a look, see what is inside this. Let's see if I get the knife. Okay. There we go. And this is the sort of thing I would be interested to sort of like bring to the table, just to see what it's like, just the experience of playing something like this. So, okay. Okay, so yeah, one thing I'm not a huge fan of is essentially them sort of like slapping the bit of plastic over the ceiling. You know, while I think they just cover it all up. What is it hiding? Underneath it says basically, yeah, role-playing adventure game. So let's open up and find out what's inside. It's certainly not as heavy as either I imagine the Hero Quest is going to be, or to Descent definitely is. So first thing we've got is that. Okay, so nothing falling out for a change. I'm sure I can work on that. And this is the Questmaster screen. I've got on the inside everything you need to play there. And essentially, it's all done as if written by Barley himself, one of the brothers, who's a bit of a goofball. Below that. So if we try and get hold of everything. Okay, so we've got these are the pre-written characters. It's fairly busy, I would say. A little bit difficult to just sort of like look at on first grasp. So okay, let's just have a look. Okay, so what we've got is got your gear, and then your reputation. And then you've got a combination of three things here. So you've got your approaches, your assists, and what we've got over here, techniques. And they're all rated by, essentially the approaches and the techniques are rated by die type. So doing something bravely, you know, this character's got it at D4, and if he's aiming, he's got it at a D6. Also, I sort of presume you roll the dice together and go from there. So multiple characters there. One sheet of counters, two sheets of counters. There, and then we have let's have a look. The first book, and this is, we have two books here. So we've got Tomb of Quests, and again the whole idea is that this is Barley's personalised copy. Lots of artwork, sort of like scribbled on the back on paper. Inside this Tomb of Quests featuring the epic tale of the perilous Pearl. Beginning your quest, gather your supplies, set up the game. So it's a whole lot more detailed than you imagine it's going to be. Assemble your fellowship, the Questmaster's lore. So essentially, the Questmasters assemble your fellowship, and then we've got a guide to what the players and the Questmaster agrees to. So the Questmaster agrees to, as the Questmaster, my word is absolute. I will take the time to listen to your fellowship before ruling. I will rule on the side of fun and keep the story moving. I will strive to make my narration exciting and meaningful. The Adventurer's Code. We, the adventurers, are the centre of the quest. We are good people. Only heroes risk undertaking quests. We always act accordingly to our personality. We will act boldly, each in our own way. Okay, fair enough. And then we're into the adventure itself with the Manticore's Gauntlet. So it's all a bit tightly focused, I think, tightly. Lots of block text there, so it's not difficult, necessarily easy, I think, on first sight to quite follow what is going on. Then we have Scene in a Peaceful Meadow, and we've got the action system reference, standard action and visual aid. So you've got a little flow chart as to what's going on. And then meadow sprites. And a lot of these things will, of course, have appeared in the film. And if you've enjoyed the film, then it's quite possible you may want to try this out. Or you have players, or basically children of a certain age whom you think might like this. and this, so you know, basically, this could act as their first role-playing game. It's probably possibly a little bit complex, I suspect, for a certain audience, but this is fairly lengthy. You know, we've got details of going down tunnels, you know, and then placing them on the enemy on the map for you to face. 3 chapters. Let's have a look. Just like 1 chapters. Yeah, you've got 3 chapters. Essentially, the book of what you've got is the Book of Novice, which essentially takes. I mean, essentially, then the Book of the Wanderer, and then the Book of the Adventure, and essentially, that's all the stages of the big quest, and it's further broken down, all the way down to the final confrontation. I'm presuming chapter 7. So yeah, get to chapter 8. You know, taking artwork from the film, all the way down to chapter 10, and so on, until the very end, of course, where you are successful and can let off fireworks, whether or not it's your party or not, and you're level 1. And we got the Advanced Player's Guide. Advanced Player's Guide, and your basic introduction, repetition of the lore, beginner's game, and essentially how to use this book. So the Advanced Player's Guide is actually really the introduction to the game. You know, how to play it, the rules, and we've got the restatement of the Questmaster's lore and the Adventurer's Code as well. Discussion of the components, the 2 books there, and then we're going to go on to the various bits and pieces. So there we go. Dice and the figures and the character sheet and how that works. And all the tokens. And how to play with examples. Explanation of the action resolution system, so on, and then it's running you through sort of like some of the encounters in the quest in the other book. Yeah. And let's talk about fellowships and recruiting players and preparing for a session essentially, and then quest mastering. Players, stating things like players are not the enemy, avoiding the path of the killer QM, devising challenges, challenge scale, and so on. And I suspect ultimately, there's a glossary here as well, that this isn't really going to be a one-shot. I mean, it seems unlikely that it would be supported, or there's even an index. Nice touch. In the long term, but you never know. So what else do we have below? Got the tray. Pull these out, and it's just is there anything else below the tray? No, there isn't. So you've got quite a deep box. It's going to sit back down. Yes, it's going to sit back down. So you've got first a set of cards, and you've got power cards and quest track on the back. I'm not going to open those for the moment. Then we have item cards. And so this is it's a common weapon. That's a heirloom sword. There we go. Standard set of dice. So you've got D4, D6, D8, D10, and D12, and essentially you've got 3 sets of those, and then you've got a D20. And I'm presuming these are your hex encounters for doing down encounters. and then you've got the miniatures. Let's have a look at the miniatures. So there we go. Got a wizard. Okay, fighter of some kind, and yeah, there's actually quite nice sort of like sculpts, not overly detailed, but decent enough. Bard. And then, got something stuck in there. Perhaps a ranger type with his missile weapon. I'll show you that. And then we've got two last two. Just stuck in here. Two last miniatures. So we've got a dragon of some type. Again, not hugely detailed, but details now, because essentially you can tell the difference once they're down on the table. You can tell the difference what they are. And then presumably the Manticore, basically the enemy for the whole thing. And that's a really nice. I actually like that miniatures. There's a lot of nice pose, an element of threat to it. So yeah, not too many miniatures. I mean, obviously, for the most part, the characters are facing will be represented by tokens, and that's fine. You know, it doesn't necessarily have all the lots and lots of figures. You know, of course, back in the day, you didn't. You know, you didn't necessarily get all the figures like that in here. Right, so let's. So these books are actually quite heavy, which all adds to the weight of the box. So I'm going to check to see on the back, see whether this is actually going to go back into the box. Yeah, just about. And then back on top. So it's still got an age group on this. So it says ages 8+, players 2. What does that say? 2 to 5. So yeah, that is Quests of Yore role-playing adventure game. You may even be able to, you'll be able to get this from your local friendly dealer. You may even be able to find it in your local Disney store if you actually have one. Otherwise, interesting. I look forward to giving this a proper review. In the meantime, hopefully you have enjoyed this unboxing in the Nook. If you have, please click the like button down below. And if you've got any comments or feedback, appreciate you posting those. And I do take the time to respond. And lastly, if you have any comments, sorry, I've already done that. Lastly, if you want to be alerted to future unboxings in the Nook, where you will see me with a package or a box, which I will unbox and examine the contents and talk about them to the best extent of my knowledge for 10 minutes or so, then all of course accompanied by a nice hot cup of tea. Then please do click that subscribe button. Thanks again for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video. I'll be back again soon with another unboxing in the Nook. Bye for now.